The white smoke puffed out, and everyone held their breath. A gasp went through St. Peter's Square as disbelief spread like wildfire. From the famous chimney above the Sistine Chapel, a signal came out that would change Catholic history forever. A Filipino Pope? That was something nobody ever expected. But on that day, it became real. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, also known as the Francis of Asia, had taken the throne of Peter. The whole world was watching, captivated. News of this spread around the globe, electrifying the faithful and grabbing the attention of the curious. For the Catholic Church, which had been around for 2,000 years, this election was a big deal. It marked a shift from the old ways, a bold step into unknown territory. You could feel the hope in the air. Here was a guy known for his humility, compassion, and dedication to helping the poor and marginalized. Could he be the bridge builder, the healer, the reformer the Church so desperately needed? Only time would tell, but one thing was clear: the papacy and the world would never be the same again. This wasn't just a change in leadership, it was the start of a new era. Luis Antonio Tagle's path to becoming Pope was as unlikely as it was inspiring. He was born in 1957 into a devout Catholic family in the Philippines, a country rich in faith and tradition which helped him grow spiritually. His parents, a bank teller and a water company employee, instilled in him a strong faith and a deep sense of social justice. They taught him the values of hard work, humility, and compassion, things that would define his life. From a young age, Tagle showed a sharp mind and a kind heart. He was always eager to help those in need, traits that shaped his future ministry. He did really well in school and eventually got a doctorate in theology from the Catholic University of America. His academic success was proof of his dedication and thirst for knowledge. He climbed the ranks within the church in the Philippines, serving as a parish priest, then a bishop, and finally as the Archbishop of Manila. Each position he held reflected his strong commitment to his faith and his community. In Manila, Tagle really came into his own. The lively city and its diverse mix of people provided the perfect setting for his impactful work. He took his role as a shepherd to the poor and marginalized seriously, showing empathy and understanding for their struggles. He became a beloved figure among those less fortunate, walking alongside them, listening to their stories, and amplifying their voices. His presence brought hope and comfort to many who felt overlooked by society. He didn't shy away from challenging the powerful and speaking out against corruption and injustice. His fearless advocacy for the oppressed earned him both admiration and some pushback. With his warmth, humility, and infectious laugh, he became not just a leader, but a friend to many. He was known as the Cardinal of the Poor, a champion for those forgotten. His tireless efforts to lift up the downtrodden resonated deeply with the people he served. His reputation as a man of the people, a pastor with a servant's heart, spread far beyond the Philippines. Even Rome took notice. His influence reached the global stage, where his voice became a symbol of hope and justice. In 2012, Pope Benedict XVI elevated him to the College of Cardinals. This wasn't just a personal honor, it was a testament to his life's work and unwavering dedication to his faith. It was a sign of what was to come. The world was starting to see a leader whose impact would go beyond borders and touch countless lives. We were witnessing the rise of an extraordinary figure, a man destined for greatness. His journey from Manila to the papacy was just getting started. Rome really stands as a testament to faith, compassion, and a strong commitment to helping others. Leading up to Tagle's election, the Vatican was buzzing with all sorts of conflicting ideas. The ancient walls of the Holy See were alive with debates as the Church tried to figure out its identity in a world that was changing fast. The tension was real, reflecting the bigger societal shifts and the Church's struggle to stay relevant while holding on to its core beliefs. Traditionalists, who were all about sticking to ancient doctrines, were butting heads with reformers who wanted to modernize the Church and make it more in tune with the 21st century. These reformers were eager to tackle contemporary issues, from social justice to the role of women in the Church, pushing for changes that many thought were long overdue. The divide wasn't just about theology, it was also cultural, showcasing the diverse backgrounds and perspectives within the global Catholic community. Pope Francis, the first of his name, ushered in a time of openness and dialogue, but deep divisions still lingered. While many people praised his inclusive and compassionate approach, others worried that the Church was drifting too far from its foundational teachings. The challenge was to find a way to honor tradition while also embracing the changes that were necessary. The Catholic Church found itself at a crossroads, where the choices made during this time would shape its future for generations. Would it cling to its ancient traditions, or would it adapt to meet the needs of a modern, diverse congregation? The stakes were incredibly high, and the world was watching closely. Scandals, both financial and sexual, had really damaged the Church's reputation. These crises had shaken people's trust and left many questioning the Church's moral authority. The faithful felt disillusioned, and Church leaders knew that restoring credibility would take more than just words. It would require real actions and a commitment to being transparent and accountable. Secularism was on the rise, especially in the West, and the Church faced the challenge of reaching out to a population that was becoming increasingly indifferent or even hostile to religious institutions. This was clear in the empty pews and the growing number of people identifying as spiritual but not religious. The Church needed to find fresh ways to connect with these individuals and show that it still had a meaningful role in their lives. The Church needed a leader who could navigate these tricky waters, heal past wounds, and carve out a path for the future. Cardinal Tagle emerged as a beacon of hope, someone who could bridge the gap between tradition and progress. His deep empathy and understanding of marginalized communities made him an appealing choice for those looking for a more inclusive and compassionate Church. However, the College of Cardinals, the group responsible for electing the Pope, was sharply divided. Each faction was passionate about their vision for the Church's future. The conclave wasn't just a political process, it was a spiritual one, with each cardinal seeking divine guidance in their decision-making. The outcome was uncertain, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Conservatives were leaning towards a return to traditional values, taking a strong stand against what they saw as moral relativism. They argued that the Church's strength lay in sticking to its doctrines, and that any deviation would lead to more erosion of its authority. For them, the solution to the Church's challenges was to reaffirm its timeless teachings. On the flip side, progressives inspired by Pope Francis wanted a more inclusive Church that embraced marginalized voices and tackled issues like poverty, inequality, and climate change. They believed the Church's mission should be to be a beacon of hope and justice in a world full of suffering and injustice. Their vision was for a Church that wasn't just a guardian of tradition, but also a dynamic force for good. The conclave of 2025 was cloaked in secrecy, with the outcome far from certain. The world was watching as the cardinals met behind closed doors, each vote getting closer to determining the Church's future. The air was thick with anticipation, and the faithful were praying for a leader who could guide them through these challenging times. It seemed like the fate of the Church was hanging in the balance, and the decisions made in those sacred halls would resonate far beyond the Vatican. impacting millions of lives around the globe. The world waited, hopeful yet anxious. If you're curious about what Cardinal Tagle envisions for the Church, it helps to look back at where he came from. Born in Manila, Philippines, in 1957, Luis Antonio Tagle grew up in a humble home. His parents taught him the importance of empathy and service, values that shaped his life. From a young age, Tagle felt a strong connection to the Church, not just as a place to worship, but as a community where people support each other. His early experiences with the Church gave him a real sense of belonging and purpose. Tagle's path to becoming a priest began earnestly at the San Jose Seminary in Quezon City, where he was known for being both smart and kind. It was here that he discovered the writings of liberation theologians who emphasized social justice and caring for the poor, ideas that really resonated with him and became central to his ministry. As a young priest in Imus, he really made an impact by working closely with underprivileged communities. He saw their struggles and resilience up close, which reinforced his belief that the Church should serve the marginalized and speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. His work wasn't just about giving aid, it was about empowering people to fight for their own rights and dignity. His dedication didn't go unnoticed. In 2001, he became the Bishop of Imus, and by 2011, he was the Archbishop of Manila. With each role, his commitment to social justice grew, along with his recognition as a leader. His sermons and writings often called for the Church to step up and tackle societal issues, from poverty to human rights. Tagle's humility and approachability made him well-liked. He was known for listening, engaging in meaningful conversations, and bringing people together, whether comforting a grieving family or speaking at international events. His consistent message was clear. The Church should be a force for good in the world, grounded in compassion and justice. When Pope Benedict XVI appointed him as a cardinal in 2012, it showed how influential he had become in the global Church. It recognized his tireless work and unwavering commitment to the gospel. As a cardinal, he continued to advocate for the poor and became a leading voice for social justice within the Vatican. Understanding Tagle's background is key to appreciating his vision for the future. His life story is a powerful reminder of empathy, humility, and faith. It inspires hope and offers a roadmap for a Church that honors tradition while being open to love and justice. Before he even thought about becoming Pope, Cardinal Tagle was already a symbol of hope for many in the Church. His charisma and genuine compassion resonated with people from all walks of life. He was seen as a leader who could connect tradition with modern ideas, bringing a fresh perspective to age-old doctrines. Tagle's vision was all about radical compassion, a Church that puts the poor and marginalized first. He believed the Church's true mission is to serve those in need, be a voice for the voiceless, and bring hope where there's despair. This wasn't just a theory for him, it was rooted in his own experiences working with impoverished communities. He viewed the Church as a field hospital, not a fortress, ready to heal the wounds of a broken world. This idea captured his belief that the Church should be a place of healing and refuge, a sanctuary where people can find comfort and support during tough times. His visits to hospitals and disaster-stricken areas, along with his caring presence for the sick and suffering, reflected this belief. He was also a strong advocate for social justice, speaking out against economic inequality and the systems that keep people trapped in poverty. His speeches often highlighted the root issues behind poverty and called for fairer distribution of resources. He felt the Church had a moral duty to stand against injustice and work toward a more just society. Tagle didn't shy away from talking about corruption, whether it was within the Church or in society at large. He knew that corruption undermined trust and the foundations of society. His message was straightforward. There's no room for corruption, whether it's in the halls of power or within the church itself. He really worked hard to push for transparency and accountability, and a lot of people recognized and respected that. He was all about caring for the environment too. He understood how urgent the climate crisis is and felt that taking care of our planet was a moral obligation. He believed the church should step up and promote sustainable practices. His involvement in environmental rallies and talks about climate change really showed how committed he was to this cause. He often talked about how everything in creation is connected and how it's our responsibility to protect and preserve the planet for future generations. His vision also included how the church handles doctrine and dogma. He knew a lot about church teachings and respected tradition, but also understood that the church needed to engage with modern issues and be open to conversation. He thought theology shouldn't be stuck in the past, but should grow with new insights while still honoring church teachings. He was all about having discussions, especially on tough topics like divorce, contraception, and homosexuality. He believed the church should listen to its members' experiences and struggles and offer compassionate guidance. His approach was all about empathy and inclusivity. He wanted to find common ground and create a more understanding and accepting community. He felt the church should be a welcoming place for everyone, no matter their sexual orientation or marital status. He often emphasized the importance of building an inclusive and loving community, where everyone felt valued and accepted. His actions and words reflected his belief that the church should be a home for all, a place where people could find love, support, and understanding. He wasn't about making drastic changes, but believed in evolving gradually, building on the foundations of the past while looking toward the future. His vision was about continuity and growth for a church that stays true to its core values, while being open to new ideas and perspectives. He aimed to build bridges, not walls, encouraging dialogue instead of division. He thought the church should take the lead in promoting peace and understanding among different faiths and cultures. His efforts in interfaith dialogue and reconciliation were all about creating a more harmonious and united world. He believed the church needed to adapt to the realities of the 21st century while staying true to its core values. He embraced modern technology as a way to connect with more people and share the church's message. His conversations about contemporary issues showed he was ready to tackle the challenges and opportunities of today's world. His election as Pope marked a potential turning point, a chance for the Church to regain its moral authority and truly be a force for good in the world. His leadership was seen as a beacon of hope, a sign that the Church was ready to embrace change and work towards a more just, compassionate, and inclusive future.